All right. Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to stream. Ugh. I'm so tired. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Hello, everyone. I can never get the spacing right. It's like I always guess where my theme should do first. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to stream. Hi, how are we all doing today? How's the vibe? How's the energy? How is the day treating you all? New brushes, you bet, bruh. I've been living for these chisel brushes lately. I actually love them. I actually have energy. That's sick. You love to see it. Doing good, fantastic. Just practice piano. I haven't practiced piano in forever. Comment allez-vous? I'm alright. I'm doing okay. I think that's how are you? If I remember correctly. Yeah, I haven't done piano in a long time. This time I'm serious. You got this. You're doing great. It's probably back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Yo. You know what? I dig it. You love to see it. Alright, everyone. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to stream. As the stream title says, today we are going to be fixing your comics. We're going to be going over some comics that were submitted to me in the Discord. Well, not the Discord, sorry. They're submitted to, like, a Google form. They've already been chosen, as I mentioned, on the Discord. We're going to be going over 4 different artists' work today. Originally it was going to be 6, but then I looked at the length of the comics that were submitted, and I was like, I think I'm going to need more time for each of these. By comparison to the 20 minutes that I give everyone for normal illustrations, we're going to give everybody 30 this time around. But, yes. Oh, ThatOnePossum artist in chat. I don't know if you can see your name up on my screen right now. But regardless, I'll be going over some of the comics that will be, you know, I'll be going through a bunch of them. But yes, before we get going, a bit different today, the things that I'm going to be saying, because before we get into it, before I say my fun little spiel today, we have a sponsored stream. We'd like to thank our sponsor for the stream, XP Pen, for an awesome selection of digital art tablets for both beginner and advanced artists. If you're looking for an affordable and reliable digital tablet, go browse their store. You'll find a link to the description. You'll find the link in the description of this video. Top right of the screen, you can see the logo is displayed up there. So thank you so much, XP Pen, for sponsoring this stream and sponsoring the channel multiple times. Recently had a giveaway with XP Pen. So, you know, we've done a couple giveaways with XP Pen. Now we're sponsored. So if you'd like to check out the store, check out what they have to offer, I'll link in the description to their store for some nice, affordable tablets for beginners and professionals alike. And onto my normal spiel. If you didn't know, our growing community is filled with tons of art nerds. We art nerds have to stick together. So if you'd like to support us so we can keep making free... if you're an art nerd, be sure to check the links to our social media in the description below, and check out our website for our class offerings. You can get critique, guidance, and encouragement from our instructors, because we're not just a YouTube channel, we are an art school too. So if you'd like to support us so we can keep making free content, consider supporting us by becoming a YouTube member for exclusive... there we go. For exclusive channel perks like emotes and sub badges, or supporting us on Patreon for as little as $2 per month, where you can get access to tons of perks like my working files, critique sessions, class recordings, and a huge discount on our classes that have a limited amount of spots, so be sure to check those out before they are gone. Did this change? I remembered it being different. If you didn't know our growing community, so tons of artists have to stick together. So if you're an art nerd too, be sure to check the links to our social media. Okay. I just slipped up. One of the messier ones as of recent. That's okay. How'd you start your art school? Not my art school. It's one of the other streamers, one of the other people, Faye. Faye is our lovely boss here at Wing Canvas. She started it locally first, brick and mortar. Now we're online. But yeah, we had a what do you call it? A 10-year anniversary stream recently where Faye got to explain that for a bit. Oh, you see yourself up on there, I see. Alright, well. Yeah, if you see your own name up here, hey, you're upcoming. But we're gonna start with our first one here, from Deer. Dear, she submitted this is the shortest comic panel that I got, by the way. This is the shortest comic that I got. Which is not bad at all. I love single page stuff. I love single page, like, emotional kind of things, and I'm a huge fan of this. Oh, I should also preface, say this isn't a roast stream. This is just a crit stream, so don't worry about me being mean or anything. I'm too tired for that. B, it isn't that kind of stream. I will also say, as well, before we properly dive into this, those of you who still don't really, I'm not mad, I'm just a little disappointed. Please read the instructions for how to submit things, okay? Okay, when we are submitting work, alright, when we want to upload a Google Drive file, right, we go to Google Drive, we upload our things onto there, make sure we hit share, and make sure that anyone in the link can view. Edit that link, please, alright, so that I can actually take a look at it. A couple of you didn't do that, a couple of you lost your chance of me being able to look at your work. Somebody else also didn't give me a Drive link. Somebody gave me a link to a path in their computer. A couple of people have done this before. Please, okay, when you have like a C semicolon / that's not a website address, that is a path to your own computer. That is a local file. I cannot access that. Okay? I can't open that. So if you're gonna, upload it, you have to upload it through Drive. Okay? So please remember how to do that. That is your disk drive. It is a local file to you, so I cannot access that. And also, one of you, I think you accidentally submitted your Pokemon ROM hacks instead of your work. I was not going to open the GBA EXE file. I have my own copy of Pokemon Black and White, and various Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green files as well. So, just letting you know. You might have submitted your Pokemon ROM hacks instead of your work, so just letting you know. Please double check your files before you submit anything to this server. I could have very well stolen your files and played them on my own. I didn't do that, though. So, just letting you know. It's so funny. No, it's super funny. Just letting you know about that. Let's move on. And once again, all of the comics have been picked before stream, so we're no longer accepting submissions. So if you want to do another one of these streams, I believe this is the only fixing your comics of the year. But there are going to be other fixing streams throughout the year for each streamer, so be sure to check those out later in the year. Okay. This is beautiful. First thing I'll say about this one is this is beautiful. Beautiful work. Beautiful... Hang on, I did all these edits. I shouldn't have done that just yet. Let's do this really quickly. And then... let's do this magic. There we go. Okay. Beautiful looking, fun looking characters, really fun layout. I'm always a big fan of more experimental layouts. I think they're always really, really fun. Nice use of color, not too much happening. I think that we're kind of on the edge here, but I think this is great. You did a great job with all of this. Yeah, no Discord submissions today because it's basically just an entire submission stream. So my personal rule of thumb is, like, if we're doing, like, some kind of roast stream, some kind of, like, fixing stream, I don't tend to do Discord submissions, but tomorrow, I believe... Oh, are you with Iggy or are you with Josh? Let's take a look. I'll open this up now so that I know for later as well. Are you with Iggy or are you with Josh tomorrow? I believe this is Iggy. Tomorrow you're with Iggy. Iggy will be sharing some submissions on his end. But yes, beautiful work with this one. Huge fan of how this one has turned out. You should be proud, dear. Did a great job. YouTube Dearly Beloved, by the way, spelled deer as in the animal. Dearly Beloved. Very fun. I like that. But beautiful work on this one. I think a couple things that I'll have to say immediately off the bat. First of all, I do really like that you are not afraid to let the bubble overlap the P. I should use blue, actually. I do like that you're not afraid to let the bubble overlap the illustration. I'm glad that you've done that, because a lot of the times artists are very scared of doing that. They're like, I don't want to cover up my work. I don't want to cover this up. I don't want to cover it up. And you know what? It's like, if it's not the most important thing in the scene, cover it up. Who cares, right? I think this is really, really great. I think the main thing that I'm noticing, though, is that this is getting kind of close to this bubble, right? So it's a little bit confusing with where this is supposed to go. It's like, I know I'm probably supposed to go here, but it feels a little bit awkward with the way that we're going right here, right? It also feels a little bit awkward with this kind of tail going around, right? You're getting a strange sort of way. These two bubbles are placed beautifully. I love how this one's here. I love how this one's here. But you have this perfect leading line right here going to here. So it actually probably would have been stronger if you had this bubble here and this line was instead traded to the center. So that you're killing two birds with one stone. You're using the bubbles to break up the composition and you don't even need to use that line in the center, right? And it also helps because now you're not ensnaring this character in here as much. And you're also helping us go from this character to this one with like these additional leading lines with the bubbles themselves. Remember that our bubbles are part of the composition, right? Our bubbles are part of the composition when it comes to a comic. We need to think of them as well as the illustrations themselves. Right. Let's talk about a couple other things right now as well. The bubbles, like my main issue right now is the bubbles. I shouldn't say issue. My main thing is with the issues with the bubbles themselves. I think this one's actually covering this character up a little bit too much. I might move it over to like here. A smidge, like I might move it over here a bit more. It's like to really like to like make sure that, because half of his head is being covered up right now. And like, I appreciate you taking a risk and like, you know, allowing yourself to cover up the characters. But I think that if you just covered up one ear, a bit of this character's hair, you still get that lovely across sort of thing. And then you don't have to cover up this lovely work that you've done on the character's like ears here. You don't have to worry about that as much. I think another thing, it's like, I also, like, I like the risk with, like, changing the axes that all of these, like, this text is gonna be on. Personal thing with me, I don't really like it when people do that. I would much rather if all of these stayed in the same sort of, like, like just straight across text because it reads a bit better. It kind of gives, like, if you have them sort of angled, it sort of feels like you ever seen like those like overly like those lyric videos that have like the like text flying at you at different angles and like animated. It kind of feels that way. It's just not very it's a little bit distracting. B, it's just not very viable in the long run. If you're doing a big comic, it is a lot easier if you have them all just straight across because it's easier to read and it is also like just a bit stronger visually. It feels a little bit more mature, I think. Hi Frey, welcome in. Totally not late. You're actually not. You're not that late. We've barely started. You can't see the character on the left, rabbit ears, because the bubble covers the whole top of his head. It's true. So I would say, so again, I like that you're covering up some areas. With this, especially as an insert shot, don't worry about it. You can cover up different parts of that just perfectly fine. You're getting a bit heavy-handed right here, covering up most of this character. What I would say, right, a personal favorite thing of mine to do, right, is I also like covering up characters, but I also like working behind them. So if I just really quickly sketch out this panel again, these panels for you. Let me just do this really quickly. So we've got a bit of time. We've got a good amount of time, I think. Right, let me sketch this out really quickly for you. Love these bubbles. Huge fan. Bubbles? Love these panels. Huge fan of triangular panels. I don't use them as often as I should. So let's say we've got this character kind of here. I like that you have them kind of coming out on this side. You and I draw rabbit ears very differently. I'm kind of exaggerating this a bit, but that's okay. Oh, it goes like upwards, like comb over. I would say, I think it might actually read a bit better if your hair goes downwards. Because that is kind of just the natural fall pattern of like hair. I know this is a comic stream, but just like a little character design thing, methinks. Really have them stick out here. What I missed? Not too much, just kind of really quickly redrawing this panel so I can mess with the layout. Huge fan of the fact that you brought the ears all the way down to the ear canal. Thank you. I love it. Excellent job. I don't know if it was from me that you got that advice or from someone else. I don't care. Thank you. I appreciate that very much because it is a huge pet peeve of mine when they're just sitting on the top of the head. I see what you're doing with the knife here, but because of the lack of action with the body, you actually don't need that there. It's just taking up unnecessary space. So let me draw side profiles. Thank you. Side profiles are my favorite ones. So you have these two characters here, right? You had a bubble that was covering up this guy's whole head here, and then really easily you could do this, right? You've kind of planned for a lot of space down here, not a lot up here, because you've kind of got the two main points of interest sort of clashing with each other. Really easy fix. Make the bubble part of the background. So what you can do is you can have this bubble kind of going here. So the characters can actually overlap the bubble. And then you can do the thing that I said, use the panel split as the bubble. And then you can bring the bubble back in front. Then have it curl like that. Right? Again, killing two birds with one stone. You have this bubble splitting the panel itself. And you're also using it as part of the composition. Again, remember, your bubbles are not just a thing that you slap on afterwards, right? It is a part of the comic. It is part of the comic that you are illustrating, right? Let me save this one for you. Letting all the artists know that I'm featuring on stream. If you contact me through Discord after the stream is done, let me know which artist you are. I will very gladly give you your working file. So you can take a look at the notes that I have done. You don't have to refer back to the stream. So if you are an artist who is currently being featured on the stream, who I'm going to be working on fixing your work, feel free to contact me directly. I will gladly give you your work afterwards. Just let me know who you are. Okay. Let me pull out a... I have a couple of examples I can probably do for this one. I need to find my own comics. Mine are so scattered now. I don't tend to do really big finished comics anymore. There's a couple old ones here. Okay. He's in the background in stylish, smart ways, makes everything look cooler. It's true. So, again, think of your bubbles as part of your composition. Yeah, you can have it kind of surrounding the characters themselves, right? Because that's generally what we want. In an ideal world, these are like doodle comics, by the way. I'm not like... These are not like super finished ones. But, you know, letting the bubble take over, right? Having it convey as much emotion as the characters themselves. Having illustrations within the bubbles as well as giving more context to what the person is saying, right? You can really use, like your bubbles, you can really use your text as like a tool for you to work, right? If somebody's speaking in a different language, so what some people will do is they'll have like the nationality flag and the couple like things going on. This is a bit messy looking at it now. Have the bubbles cross behind the character, have them go over top, right? This is part of the composition. It isn't only exclusively don't think of them as separate. Think of them as one. Think of them as together, as something that is meant to be placed together. Right? Mess with your panels, mess with your bubbles, so on and so forth. Right? Lots of different things you can do. Okay? So, really mess around with these bubbles. Especially because this one's getting really close down here. I think what I would do... Yeah, if I was to have this one, I would have this bubble probably closer to in here, because having it here, like, I understand you not wanting to have a tangent with the edge of the panel here, but you're actually creating a tangent with the edge of the composition. So you might want to bring this down here, you know, you have it here, say, let me use this brush instead. I have this one here, say front. If you have the knife over top, bubble underneath. Right? And then you have this one kind of trailing down here. I'm very invested in this example. Maybe I'll show it. I actually, like, I'm being very careful with these. This is personal work, so this isn't like... I'm cutting off a bit of the text, because I can't use all of this comic as an example. I can use some of it. This is another good one, you know, like the crossing behind, you know. This is what takes precedence. So then this can actually be like a background thing, so I treat it as a background. And then again, this takes precedence. See this before the text down here, right? Oh, the corn close-up, this one. I like this comic. This one's really cute. I drew this a long time ago. It's a fun one, though. Anyway, maybe we'll go over those another day. But... right, so we have this knife here, right, have this go underneath, and then now we have a nice continuous thing this way. If we have the bubble right here, it makes a really nice Z across the screen instead, right? Because with the way that you have them right now, it's sort of like a bit of a strange... Almost kind of looks like an upside down number 2. The way that the bubbles are going right now. But if you have this kind of going from one way down to here, and then we go back around here, we use this cut over, creates a nice Z, right? Sort of the way that we want to read this. The dialogue, I think, was another thing that sort of stuck out to me. The way that you kind of write this. If you want these two bubbles to be cutting each other off, Vix, I don't have it, you sure? Right, because you have this sort of line here and then another line here. It's like, I understand that that's supposed to be a cutoff. Again, use the bubbles as a part of the composition. Use it to your advantage. If you want to have that kind of cutoff look, you can have this one still here, you know, front. And then you can have a bubble here instead, like Vix. I don't have it. And instead of having to draw the punctuation or the line, you use the second bubble, cover up part of that it, and write the "you sure" over top of that. Because that is a visual way that you are showing that they are being cut off. You can have this here. If somebody is speaking off screen, really easy way to do it. If you have like this right here, right? Like the color coding, perfectly fine. Another way that you can do it, because that color coding can sometimes be a bit disruptive if we're working. There's a reason why comic boxes tend to be either yellow or white. And it's because, well, yellow on black is black and yellow are two of the most readable colors. Sometimes like traditional comics will use that for like later or like this happened before kind of thing. But most people, the reason why white is used is because white goes with everything. So it's that sort of thing where it's that readability factor. So if you switch these back to just white on black text, what you can do is if somebody's off screen, really easy, add an extra triangle going into the bubble. If the other character's there, right, this character's right here, you can use the tail, perfectly fine. This way the knife is also not covered and part of the leading lines that go through, because your eyes are crossing through the bubbles, hitting this knife at the throat, right? Really great. And then we also have this tail pointing to not only the character, but the knife that is going into the throat as well, right? Vix, I don't have it, you sure, right? And this is a really quick way of cutting that person off, right? Overlapping the bubbles on top of each other, right? I keep on saying it, but think of your compositions as, think of your bubbles as just part of the composition, right? Think of them as another way for you to mess with the composition. Because there are so many ways that you can really mess with composition and mess with, like, your bubbles. Because it's like, bubbles are, like, it's just another thing you have to illustrate, right? You can get so creative with them. You can get so creative with how you place them down on the comics themselves, right? And it's really interesting. Do you post these anywhere? They're just for you. They're just for me. The comics are... There's an art to everything. Exactly. It's why they have like a typographer. It's why they have a like the bubble artist, right? There's a different thing for each person. And no, they're just for me. I'm part of a couple of D&D a D&D campaign. So like these are like the D&D characters that we play as. It's like I play as this guy, it's Korn. But I really like drawing modern AU stuff. So these comics are like these are my copium. Cause everyone is so traumatized in this campaign, dude. This is my copium for the campaign that's going on. I'll actually, you know what? Cause these are examples. I'm just gonna put these off to the side here so they're easier to access for later. Okay. You're so real for that, yeah. They are just my copium. But yeah. I'm in the middle of working on another one, so maybe actually I'll pull that one out too. Okay, not here. It's not open, actually. Let me grab that one so then, like, ahead of time. It's called Haircut, right? Yes, there it is. And you can tell it's newer because, like, I don't have it open on screen, you can't see it, but you can tell it's newer because it's done with the chisel brush. But yes, lots of ways to think with bubbles and all that fun stuff. But yes, thank you so much, dear. Thank you so much for submitting. Everybody say thank you to Dear and her lovely work. You did amazing. Really, really great stuff. Thank you so much for submitting, and thank you for having the courage to submit and have your work on display for the public. Again, if you want your working file after the fact, if you end up watching the VOD or if you're here, feel free to ask me on Discord after stream, and I will gladly give you this working file if you would like it. But okay. Any tips for drawing hair on a side view profile? It's all just about, like, figuring out how the hair... If you need to figure out how the hair grows from the head first. Figure out how it grows from the head, figure out where on the head it is placed first. And then from there, it's all just about... it's all just about thinking about that hair in the 3D space. Okay. Next one is from ThatOnePossum. She submitted her work here. Didn't give me any socials to shout her out on. But ThatOnePossum has submitted their work. This rings so much like what I would draw as a kid. It is so like, it's so like, oh, these are like this is like the comic layout that I would do when I was younger kind of thing. I'm like, oh, so nostalgic, so nice. Thank you so much for submitting. Artist in chat! Thank you so much for submitting your work. Beautiful stuff. And like, you know, very, very brave of you to submit your work for, you know, the public eye to see. I like these characters. I think they're so fun. They're so cute. It's kind of giving, oh shoot. If you've ever seen Hilda, you know the elves in Hilda? It's kind of giving the same, it's got the same sort of vibe to them. But like the lost ones, the lost elves, yeah, that were like by the wall that were banished. It's got that kind of like, that kind of vibe. Yeah, it's very similar to that. It's like I saw like the main guy you have here and I was like, OMG, Alfer, you know? I watched Hilda with my partner. Amazing show. 100% recommend for everyone if anybody hasn't seen it. But yeah, so first thing, the main thing that I that I've noticed, right, like immediately, is your text. Now, choosing text for a comic is very complicated, because I'll give you a little bit of a graphic design lesson. I'm not a graphic designer, but this is just I looked up like a graphic design crash course and I gave myself a little bit of information. First thing is you never want to change the width of the text, right? I'm noticing immediately right here you squashed this down to fit inside of the bubble, because this is probably the true width of the text itself, right? Don't do that. Probably not great, because it does create a sort of messiness to the graphic design. Second of all, when you're picking a font, right? Picking a font is all about readability. When you are looking at speech bubbles, you're thinking of that as your body text. All right, there's a bunch of different fonts and like types of fonts that you'll use depending on their purpose. It's like you'll have a title font, you'll have like a subheader font, and you'll have like maybe, or it's like your subheader and your body text might be the same font, but your title can be something totally different, right? But your body text has to be a font that is very, very readable, because more likely than not, that body text is going to be in larger chunks, right? And you need to pick a font that A, looks nice, and B, will fit that definition of a body text, right? So this one is pretty good. This isn't like the worst font to pick. If you really want a more comic-y font, I'll write it down for you in the font itself, because it is free. The lovely people who created it allow indie comic artists to use it for free. It is called Anime Ace 3. There might be higher than 3.0 out by now, but it is just called Anime Ace. It's from Blambot, I believe. But this is the font that most people use because that like all caps font is very readable for a lot of people. Undercuts are so fun. Yeah, Anime Ace 3.0. It is the font of most people's choice. It's the font of my choice. It's like you can kind of tell just based on like how my print looks. that I use it all the time. Like, it's just kind of like a... Like, you can kind of tell that I'm such a comic artist. It is 100% downloadable. It is 100% free if you are working as like an individual. If you're an indie comic artist, they let you use it for free. I want to do hand lettering, but it's so time consuming. My handwriting is not great. It takes a while to be legible. Doing your own like handwritten like comic like stuff, it's like I only do it for myself. If I'm drawing for myself, then I will use like a handwritten sort of way of working, because it's just, I personally really love the look of handwritten comics. Like I am such a sucker for the kind of handwritten look, because I think that this is like a personal thing. I think handwritten looks way better than like a pre-made font. But that's just me though. Like, that is just a me thing. Some people prefer the text, some people prefer the, you know, but it is up to you. But yes, the text is the main thing that I noticed. Right? Like, try not to squash within the bubble, because if you do, it tends to make it look a little bit messier. If you need to add text to the bubble, plan that text to be inside the bubble first, right? What I do when I handwrite is if I've got like character speaking, I write the text first. I write the text first, and then I add the bubble onto it, so that I know what size that bubble should be. Right? So I know how much space I should give myself, I know how much, you know, leeway I should have, right? So that it's not a guessing game, right? So then I understand where that text should go and how that text should fit inside of inside of the bubble. Right? A lot of the main things with a lot of comic work is text and bubble work and stuff like that, right? Which I am gonna go over a lot with this one, because I love the illustrations, but your placement of your bubbles is not really the smartest, and that's totally fine. Let me teach you a bit. So I have an old lesson with these. Oh, is this the wrong? Yeah, it's the wrong one. Give me a second. I was like, this is not the one that I need for this one. Let me go find the right one. Font force, that's what you use to create handwritten fonts. I have no clue. I do have handwritten fonts that I've created. But I've found that it's just the fact that like each letter looks exactly the same when you're typing, and I'm just kind of like, I don't want that though. I'm like, I want that kind of human touch, you know? Let's see here. Nope. Should be the summer, right? Comics and manga. Where's my bubble lesson? Demo 4? Yes, it is. Speech bubble placement. Let me just go over this one really quickly so I don't have to do it more than once. Speech bubbles have a lot of nuance and it can be hard to place. Don't place them at the last second, and they must be readable and interesting, right? So bubbles are like a form of leading lines that pull a viewer's attention in a certain direction across a composition, and your eyes will naturally go to words first. You want to place your speech bubbles in a way where the readers will look in the direction that you want them to look. Right? When you are placing speech bubbles on some kind of composition, if you're placing them on a comic, right, you want them to be placed in a way where you are literally letting your viewer's eyes travel around the canvas, right? You don't want them to be stuck to one section of the canvas. You don't want them to be stuck to one section of the panel, right? You want them to move around, right? So the example I gave was the static and on this one is like a static and unmoving one, right? If you have all of the bubbles right in front of the characters, all of the weight is going to be trapped onto that right side of the panel, right? However, if we start it over here, it goes from one side of the panel all the way to the other. So we get this kind of tiger thing, and we get the characters as well. Right? Moves across the composition and lets us see the entire picture, right? We want to move that across. These demos, by the way, are from my comics and manga camp that are in the summer. I believe summer camps are up, so if you wanted to go and check those out, I think I'm teaching it again. So if you wanted something more in depth, you can check that out. Classes are also still running. Spring term is starting next week, so if you want to check out the classes that we offer, wingcanvas.com. Or exclamation point classes. That also works. Different speech bubbles as well change the intention of the text. Speed, volume, intensity, etc. Get creative with the shapes of your bubbles. Get creative with the shapes. Get creative with the text on the inside. Get creative with the font, right? Yeah, there it is. Animates 3.0 from Planblot, right? And feel free to create more bubble styles and use more if you know more, right? Using only one type of bubble is like the biggest detriment to a lot of like comic work, right? It's like you can do way more than just like bubble, text, right? You can do way more than that, you know, make them puffy, add like a little thing there, right? This one's like starting with a shout and faltering. This one is just shouting all around. Stern, but not shouting. Flowery, some more peppy. Wobbly voice, like your standard one. This one's like if you're whispering, and this one's like your thought bubble, right? Like, and you can create more bubble styles. I play a lot of D&D. One thing that happens a lot is people casting message, or people casting sending, which is like, it's like a telepathic, like, hey, I'm gonna call to you across this room kind of thing. So what I do is if we have, my character that does that is Neptune, if we have like a psychic character. This is my other D&D character that I don't really talk about as much. I probably should. I love Neptune. But if we have a character who's talking, right, and they're like psychically, like it's psychic speaking, I have like a bubble that does this. It starts off with a tail and then ends in that. And depending on who's receiving it, I add an arrow at the end like that. So it's like, this is that kind of like if it's sending a message, that's the kind of bubble that I use. You can create so many different kinds of speech bubbles, so many different kinds of like solutions to your problems, right? Because again, like I always say, art is like 90% problem solving, right? And this is no bubbles, and like their placement and how to draw them is no different. Oh my god. Okay, fine. Okay. Let's go back to here. So let's go through this one really quickly then. As you're fighting for your life, you hear the wizard ringing you on Discord. You're right, exactly. Love speech bubbles tables to the character. Yeah. Thank you, Lycan. Okay. Of coloring my bubbles to convey emotion. I mentioned it before. It's like, just be careful with coloring them. It's like you can do like a half color sort of thing, but like don't use it too much, I don't think. It's like you can color them, but it gets a bit dodgy. Because it can very easily overwhelm a composition. So it's one of those things. So let's take a look at the bubbles right now, right? If you notice immediately, right, we have all of our energy trapped down here. Look at all that negative space that you're not taking advantage of, right? You want to point back to this kind of thing that's going on in the back here, right? So we want to think of the composition of this panel itself, right? We've got all this. We want to point back here. We want to use this text here. Another thing that we could really easily do, right, is change the composition of this panel altogether. Let's go to the other lesson that I had. So, not this one. Here we go. This is technically a lesson taken from cinematics. They're shot types. You would take this in like a film or whatever. But despite being a cinematics principle, it still heavily applies to comic and panel composition, right? What I would probably use for this one, what I would probably use for this panel is a long shot. A long shot is character full bodies, and it shows a character within a setting. it tends to follow the establishing shot. So the establishing shot is the full view of the setting. It generally uses a point A or point B, and this shows either a change of setting or a setting in general, right? So many lessons in one. Comics are tough. It's one of those things where you need to... Comics are like, you need to be like several different types of artists in one. Especially if you're doing it all on your own. You gotta be the illustrator, you gotta be the typographer, you gotta be the writer, you gotta be the layout artist, right? You gotta be everything. So it's one of those things where you need to know like everything. So with this one, I would probably use a long shot, right? Not only would I use a long shot, but I would use a different shape of the bubble itself, or I'd use a different shape of the panel itself, right? The bigger the panel, the more importance it holds, or the longer we're meant to stay on that panel, right? So let's take a look at that here. So if we had this first panel here, if we have this exit and this character, I would have the exit kind of going here. We have our pathway going upwards. I might actually make the angle a bit more interesting too, because right now we kind of have everybody straight head on. It's a bit boring, so we can make this more interesting. Let's have this character. Let's have this at a really low angle. Have the character standing up here. Actually, this is kind of complicated. I'm like, maybe this is a little too complicated. Let's make this a bit easier. I'm kind of thinking about this now. Let's make this a little bit easier. So, let's say that we have this here. That kind of exit. Maybe it's a medium shot, actually, of this character. Right, and we have them kind of right here. I was gonna get you to do full body foreshortening. I won't make you do that. Not yet. Not quite yet. Not quite for you yet, Possum. Let's say instead that we have this as one long panel instead. Bubble down here. So it's right underneath the exit, right? And we make this 2 bubbles. We have time. Have it be behind this character. Can we... Right, so now it's like we're prioritizing us looking at this exit, cross back over to this character, right? So we have that kind of like, and this is our first really, really important shot because that is our establishing shot. And we have time, can we go up? This guy asks, what up where? It says to the surface, I want to see what's up there. And it gets glossed over very, very quickly how everyone feels about that situation, right? We have one person going, right? And then immediately just no, right? We want to build that tension, right? We want to really show how, like, nobody wants you to go up there. So let's have instead this other character. We'll make this panel smaller than the other one because this next one is going to be important, right? The important panels are going to take up more space. The more important it is, the more you probably want to show it off, right? Tried the first one, yeah. Sorry. I'm jumping a bit ahead of myself here. So we have this second character, turn around. Just so we don't have to worry about it overlapping. We can also have this crossing over the panel itself. So we have him turn around. He's the focus of the composition. Don't need to worry about too much of the background. Notice how much space this is filling in, right? Notice how much space we are filling in here, right? Because you've left so much empty space up here, right? You could just crop this entirely. Oops. You could, like, crop this entirely. And automatically that composition looks better, right? You can even do that here. Because you're leaving so much empty space that doesn't need to be there, right? So you're leaving a lot of that negative space that doesn't really need to be applied. So it's like if we're filling that in, it's like, what, up where? And we can go back to this first character. He's got goggles. And maybe he's excited to see the surface, so maybe we want a different expression on him too. Oh, artist in chat. Artist in chat. Hello. Your comic was lovely, dear. Feel free to message me afterwards if you want the working file. So he goes to the surface. This is a little bit messy, but, right? We have this character being highlighted, right? His, like, want to go up to the surface is being highlighted. And then we can have another... Oops. That's the wrong layer. Ah, darn. It's okay. Let me fix that really quickly then. Okay, to the surface, I want to see what's up there. So then what we can have is we can have a really long panel. We actually have, you know what? I'm going to teach y'all a trick. We're going to do a fun little thing that I love to do, which is a panel-less panel. Now, I love doing these, especially if, like, the emotion gets really tense. It's like, oh my gosh, where are my demos? Here we go. If the emotion gets really tense, right, a panel-less panel, there's no box, right? It kind of holds a different sort of weight than if it was boxed within itself, right? I also use it for introductory panels. I might even have the character cross over the panel if I'm feeling fancy, right? I use it for introductions. I use it for heavier weighting of the situation. Or even the straight across thing, I think I really like as well. It opens up the composition, gives us a more interesting layout. Yeah, like this one, right? It's like we have this kind of like, I'm not gonna let you read all of it, but we kind of have a rising tension going on in here. And then we have our, like, peak of the moment, and there's no box here, so it kind of feels, it holds a different kind of weight, right? Along with changing the line art and how it works. Right? Budget for boxes. Someone drew my OC for me. It was very nice of them. That's lovely. We love to see that. This one too, you could also use it for, like, you can also use it for, like, the emotional effect. Like, just kind of like you can, like, hear the like, triple dot in this panel, you know? That's sort of like, having an open box really helps you, like, give a different sense of emotion, right? So if we have this guy go, can we go up, where, to the surface? I want to see what's up there. We can have this first guy right in the center. kind of standing there, like, really incredulously, right? And then we can have people kind of, like, turning around in the background, right? So then it's kind of like a... It's like maybe we even have him, like, looking around like he's worried, right? Because we have a bunch of people now turning their attention to us, right? And this kind of, like, holds the weight of the, like... It kind of shows the weight of, like, oh, like, this surface, it's like nobody's supposed to go up there kind of thing, right? It's like, he mentioned going to the surface. It's like, are you serious? It's like, is that guy crazy? Right? Because then we have that sort of, like, emotional moment of, like, oh shoot, he said something really taboo, right? Rather than just having that one person being like, right? You have a crowd. You have a bunch of people going like, oh gosh, like, what's this guy thinking? Right? And leaving it outside of a box, having that panel, this panel, really also opens up that emotion, like, whoa. It's so huge, it doesn't even need blinds. There's no box for that. Right? And then we can have the panel of the guy going like, no. Actually, it'd be more like, if we want to fill in that composition a bit better, we can have him off to the side. With the no being first before the character, it feels more like an immediate reaction. We can have that no fill in a lot of the composition. And we have another shot of the other character. I'm a huge fan of moving ears. I don't know if you got that, but I'm gonna do it. I love it when ears move. It's just fun. What is the point of elves if you can't have their giant ears move? that's my bias. I'm like, if you're gonna have an elf, if their ears are not huge and if they can't move, what is the point? That's a joke. You don't have to do either of those, but I just think it's fun. And then why not? And then we can have that inner triangle to show that the character is off screen, right? Don't need to have the character in there for them to speak. I don't really have time to draw out the rest of the panels here, but you kind of understand how it's like this feels a lot stronger. It feels a lot like the pacing of this feels a little bit more paced, right? What I would have probably done as well if I had like I'm working with what I got, but like if we had the time, I would probably have another panel before this one, a couple of panels. We would have an establishing shot. So we would see the entire underground first, right? What we're working with here. We would see all the people, we would see like the exit, we would see where they are. And then we would have a panel of this, a long shot with this character and this character both walking together. And then this character notices the exit, and then he says this, right? Because then there's that build-up going, oh, this is us going from point A to point B, right? Another thing that I talk about sometimes with pacing, the average pacing that you want, right, is you want to start at point A, right? With the example that I gave here, right, this first comic that I did, there's like a person sitting in a chair, suddenly the door's open, suddenly they're outside. Right? This is really, really hard to follow along because how they get to the door, right? This one, however, let's say they started by sitting in the chair, with a small panel of them getting up. Notice the door, grab the handle, open the door, step outside, right? This is an easier flow of action. It shows enough movement to convey what is happening, right? So our average pacing that we have for comics, right, is we have point A. In this case, it is the chair. This is where we start, right? Our point A is where we start. We have our inciting action, which is getting out of the chair and seeing the door. This is our build up to the goal, right? This is our build up to the goal that we are trying to achieve. We have the main action, which is opening the door. So this is the final and main action to get to point B. And then point B itself, which in the chair case, it is outside, where you end the scene, right? The more inciting actions you add, the more tension that builds within the comic, right? So in this case, if we have, because right now we go just immediately to this, right? I don't know if this is the middle of the comic, but if this is kind of our starting point, right? We need more of that inciting action, because immediately he goes, we have time, can we go up? We don't really know what's going on. So we need more of that world building. If we have our main panel here, and it's like, we have like, see the whole underground. Maybe it's like we have like it's up here. With like the guards here. And there's like people walking here. Right? And this gives us sort of an idea of what's going on. And then we have a long shot of these two walking, which actually I might leave as a panelless box, because I love my panelless boxes. Maybe we've got this person, goggles, kind of happily walking. The gruffer guy kind of walking in the back here. Right, and this is our introductory panel. It's like, oh, we're seeing these characters for the first time. Yippee! We have our introduction to our main characters. And then we can have these two side stacked panels here, because we want to fill in the rest of that composition. And then we have this character. Sort of notice the exit off to the side. And then we have a panel of them looking upwards to it. And with that, our inciting action and our tension has built. And now we go to this panel. Light purple hair, because everybody gives their main characters white hair. Right? So this way we have building tension. We have a build up for our main action that's about to happen. I have a really old comic page. Like years old by this point, that like is nothing but build up. Let me find it. No, this is the wrong. Bless me. Okay. These are really old comic panels, forgive me. So, with this one, we have our establishing shot, right? We have the entire church that was in here. We got Grayson coming out here. This is another kind of panel I love. The character completely outside of the panel, and then the panel behind them showing a background, because this character is in this setting, not this one, but it's just a nice fun art thing, right? It's like, I love this kind of stuff. Get weird! Get weird with it! Right? So, we have him walking in here, kind of walking through the church, and we notice the object that he's looking for, which in this case are his headphones. Right? So he finds them, we get a change of background just for, like, to show off emotion. Hears a clicking noise, hides behind the pews. Because the priest is here, right? And we get all these actions going through, right? All of this tension, all of this build-up, right? The more panels that we have building up the tension, the harder that next action is going to hit, right? So the more that we do, the better it is going to be for the future. And so just keep that in mind for when we are working on this in the future. Oh, and final note as well, don't have your text cross over onto the next bubble. You could really easily have this text cut off, it's like what I mentioned before, and try to keep all of your text the same size. You should really only make it a lot bigger if this person is shouting, and at that point, what I tend to do is if the person is shouting, I change the font altogether. So if I am like... You see, it's like I have like this little font for like the normal text, and if this guy starts like, his name is Pierce. Pierce gets mad, so it's like I've changed up the font again, and then it goes back to something kind of cute because he goes back home to see his son. But you know, really only change the size of the font if like, oh, there's another one here. Right, it's like, I think I tried my best, and then there's really big, tall font, like, what? Get out of town, right? Shows the emotion of the text itself, right? So really only change the size and the type of font if you know it's necessary, but make sure that you keep them all to the same size. I was very, very, like, I was super strict with my font when I was uploading to Webtoon, and it was like, I would make sure that everything was like an 11-point font, or 10-point font, that's what it was. And I would make sure it was 10 every single time, unless somebody was shouting, in which then I would like change that font. When did you start art? I'm just curious. I was born with a pencil in hand. I did not drink water, I drank ink that came from Bic pens. I do not bleed blood. I shed speedball printing ink. My entire life. I've been drawing my entire life. That doesn't sound particularly healthy. Popped out with a tablet in hand. I found it cool you put in small details like the goggles to know who's who. I do that for storyboarding. Yeah, because if that one Possum wants this afterwards, it's like you gotta know who's who. But yes, everybody, thank you so much to that one Possum. She did great. She did amazing. Thank you so much for submitting. I hope that was at least a little bit helpful for your endeavors. You're doing great so far. Just keep in mind your composition, keep in mind your panels, keep in mind your pacing. And yeah, everybody say thank you, and you can reach out to me after stream and I will gladly give you this working file. Okie dokie. Yeah, of course. I love comics. I wish I had the time to do them more, dude. I really don't. It's like, it's so... I love comics. This is probably gonna give me the comic bug again, and then I'll want to, like, finish that one comic that I had on hold. Alright. This next one is by Leopard, Link's Misnomer on Tumblr. She provided her lovely comic for this one. These last two ones are very long. The last one is super long, so I'll try and like fit in as much as I can for that last one. Artist in chat. These are two different scenes. Yeah, I figured. I read through it. The fact that I could tell that these were two different scenes, very good, immediately off the bat. I'm like, there's a bit of a time skip that goes on through here. I just included both of them because I'm like, I want to talk about both. But yes, very, very well done. Oh, is this Rain World? I haven't played Rain World. I've been told too many times. Did you read Warrior Cats as a kid? That's my big question. It's like, I look at how people draw cats, and I'm like, or cat-like things, and I'm like, did you read Warrior Cats? You seem like the type who wrote Warrior Cats. Maybe, yeah. It's okay. And it's like I can always tell. It's like, you either read Warrior Cats, you read Wings of Fire. If you draw either of those, it's like, I read Wings of Fire. It's kind of easy to tell with how much I love Dragonborn. Right? The same thing with me, right? I didn't read Warrior Cats. I actually didn't. I was a Wings of Fire Percy Jackson kid. I didn't even draw a cat. It's the art style, Quinn. It's the art style. I can tell. I know what you are. Anyway, Who's my favorite Wings of Fire character? It was Glory. I read the first 5, and I didn't realize that there was gonna be more coming out. Cause like, the 5th one seemed so final. I was like, okay, series is over. And then I had a student who was like, I just picked up book 11 of Wings of Fire. And I was like, 11? I was like, what do you mean? Alright, I'm super far behind. I haven't read it since book 5, but regardless. Clay! Clay! Clay is such a good choice! Hi, babe. Excellent choice of font! Yes! The comic font! You love to see it. This comic is beautiful. I love these backgrounds. Excellent choice of composition. Loving the Dutch angle right here. Loving the Dutch angle here that really shows off the tension. This dialogue is really natural. I'm a really big fan of it. Sunny's a great choice too. Comics? No, this isn't Comic Sans. This is Anime Ace or some kind of adjacent. You can actually tell the difference between Comic Sans and Anime Ace if I pull up. First of all, Comic Sans has lowercase letters. Your standard comic font does not. But even if it's all in uppercase, it's a sans serif, but some of the edges kind of go upwards, and it is more rounded. You can see the E's are a little bit less stylized, the O's are a bit more cartoony, right? Not quite the same. Very close, though. Comic Sans was created based off of the original Anime Ace 3! Yippee! Good choice! But yes, lovely dialogue. Excellent choice of font. Love these backgrounds. My main thing is your bubble placement. And that's just like because it is feeling a bit squeezed in a couple of these places. Right here it feels kind of squeezed. Here it feels kind of squeezed. Right. And that's like, again, we did already go over that. Right. So what you could really easily do for this one is we can have this bubble be bigger over here. I can just draw directly on top of this too, which is great. We can draw this one, make it a bit bigger. We can actually, yeah. I can have this here. Move this over here instead. We can even have this crossing over the character, and you're like, oh, it's like, but now it's like this line that's going over top won't work. You're right. That's why we're moving the line. So these lines, right? We're pretty smart people, I think. I think that when you're reading a comic, when you're reading something, you kind of get the gist of what's going on. And what we can do this way, move this down here. Whoops. Move this here, make this bubble bigger. Right, we can I'll make this so close to the top here. We can have this go behind the characters, have it kind of peek out each time, and have it come back around. So then it's not super crazy. Or, if you don't want to do that, again, really easy, just that. The character's off screen. So, we don't need to worry about that happening there. And we can just have this like this. Right? That's another way that we can do these bubbles. Please do not worry about me up here. You are getting a bit cut up here. And it's a great thing I have this font as well. What we can do, right, is this bubble right up here is like, I understand it's like, you know, these characters are kind of taking up the majority of the composition here, but Again, really, really easy fix. If we take these characters, if we actually just do this magic, move them up a little bit. Sorry, this looks super messy, but I'm like doing my best to try and keep this true to what we're looking at here. What we can actually do is we can put the bubble behind the characters right here. So not only are we highlighting, it's like not only is the text not really bothering the characters, but what we're also doing is we're highlighting this action that is currently happening right now. I'd probably move them a bit further apart to make this work. But oh my god, let me live. Okay. Like this. Please do not. Kind of thing, right? You'd probably want to adjust this. Let's do this, actually. Right, you can kind of mess around with the placement of the text itself, right? But if you have this, not only are the characters not being disturbed, but now we have this hand, and you're basically putting a frame around the injury and the hand that is reaching out for that injury, right? And that really does help with that movement and that action. This is kind of a tangent happening here. You can just have this character completely overlap this. This as well. You can just do that really quickly. And then this way the bubbles don't feel so tight, right? You notice how immediately that feels more open because it's less like of a cutoff there. You can cut this off too if you want to, or you can leave it open. Either or actually works in this case. I love these last two panels. Really nice, like inciting, continuation, build up, and the second action. Really nice in that way. Okay. What else was I going to say? This feels completely harmless. See, try to teach you as you travel. No, I cannot really. This one as well, you're getting a bit squished here. You can bring this over here. And have it behind the character. Do you not wish to reach the heart of Metropolis before sitting down? Right, this way we can put this text a bit farther out, right? If we have it directly behind the character, we can have the tail going on here as well. Right. Always worry about like the bubbles seem too big for the text if it's off screen. No. Here's the thing, right? Is that you want that room. Is like it helps with the readability. But it also, like, makes everything feel less squashed, right? Right, by comparison, it's like we look at how, like, like super like to the right this is, because like this is super this amount of like give that you're giving yourself is really choking out the text itself, right? So by moving this over to the left, now this feels like it has enough room to breathe in a way. What are enemy stuff and have a recommendation that so I can use? I do not, so take chat's advice. But no, again, like what I mentioned before, I tend to do the text first and then I do the bubbles. So it's like, it's an easier way to kind of plan around where those should go. Oh, Kirby Mouse? Yeah. You guys can't see it because OBS doesn't pick it up. He's animated, so he's walking. It just doesn't look like that on screen right now because there's like because Photoshop has their own like cursor icon or whatever. Such in a comic mood, bro. Draw a comic. What are you doing? Draw a comic. Okay. My last thing, I think, is with the action that's going on here. So this is lovely. It's like we have a nice little like exchange dialogue. We get two things in once. So we actually get an establishing shot, and we get character introductions, which is great. This is like killing two birds with one stone, sort of thing. Excellent work. It's like we have that. Bit of practice for her. Now it's time sundown here. What if I just try throwing a spear at the wall? We can climb up there. I do not need to. This feels like it moves just a little bit too fast. What I might have instead right here, if we were to do this, right? If we have our big main panel here. I'm gonna go back to using my, there we go. We have our big main panel here of our inciting action kind of going on. And then we have our three panels here. I'm not going to draw on all of them, but if we have these two, we kind of hear the hissing. Which, by the way, I really love this, like, hiss going over top of this character and behind this one. Lovely work. That looks beautiful. We have this. We have the hiss. That's really cool. It's a cool way of solving that problem. What I would probably do is I would have... so that we have more build-up for these monsters. I might have a panel of them turning around. And then I might have an insert shot. Insert shots, by the way, are close-ups of anything but the face. So if you have an insert shot of like somebody working with their hands, somebody like feet stomping, that is an insert shot. Keep going between really wanting to start my comic, getting too scared to attempt. Fear is the only thing that's holding you back, man. Start or you'll never will. So maybe we want like a panel here, an insert shot of just the feet of these critters. And we've got another one right here. You could even do a fun thing. The S is continuing. Have it go cross panel. So that we have like that build up continuing, right? So we know that it's these guys that are making that sound. And then we can have a panelless panel of the monster reveals. I have one big front and center. Kind of going on here. I'm trying to see what it looks like. Okay. These beautiful menacing monsters that I'm attempting to draw really quickly. Alright, so we give the monsters their own panel. Right? We could even do a fun thing where it's like this one kind of crosses over the next panel. And then we have the next panels of the two of them talking, which we can actually make a lot smaller than what you made them. But then this way there's a little bit more build up for the creature reveal, right? Because this kind of feels like it's like we're kind of glossing over the creatures here. It's like, hiss, here they are, talking again, right? It's kind of like and because of how small this panel is by comparison to these two, this panel does not feel that important, right? Not too sure at what point we are in this story. Maybe these creatures really aren't that important. Maybe it's like kind of like a been here, done that sort of deal. What else could be interesting for these two last panels, because these feel really, really big. What else could be interesting is if you did this sort of layout. You can have them being this tall. And this panel is important because this person's like, oh yeah, we're doing that spear training, dog. Right? You can have this one still be big, but let's cut this one in half. I have no clue where I'd even post it. If I recall, Webtoon is a huge fan of things that aren't kid-friendly. It's not. Who said you need to post it? You can just do this kind of stuff for yourself. You see all of these? Every single one of these? You know how many of them have been posted? 0. None of them. I just decided to do them just because, right? There are lots of different hosting websites. There's lots of different, right? You don't need to post anything, right? It's one of those things where it's like, you don't have to turn the things that you're interested in into content, you know? Like, sometimes it's just nice to just, like, you know? Who cares? Right? It's, if you draw for yourself, it's like, it also helps you stay, like, happy about it. Right? I still love these. This is like, some of these are kind of old and I still like them, right? It's like, this one is pretty old. You can see the line. This one is very recent. You can see the difference in how I draw these two characters specifically. Corn isn't too different. Pierce is. You can really see the difference in like how I draw the two of them. Right? It's like, this one's still relatively old, but I like, still like it, you know? There should be a fuller sized Pierce in here somewhere. Right at the beginning right now. It's like Pierce's hair got a lot fluffier. Right? But draw for yourself! Who cares? Not everybody needs to see your work. There's so much work on mine that like is nowhere to be found. Right, so maybe you have, let's go back to this though. Let's say you have this guy. Because then you can have a cross-panel bubble thing going on as well. Hang on, sorry. I just started drawing and I'm like, wait, that doesn't work. Here, let's try this. If we go... if we do this. Yeah, have them up higher so that their text doesn't get too cut off. So then I can do this. There we go. We can get their bubble cut off like that. So we have the, like, as I stated, kind of thing. And then we have it cut off here, like the, oh no. And we have like an insert shot of this sickened person starting to smirk. And this way then we can have a kind of shot of them. And it feels more important than this exchange because then it's like a big emotional shift. We can also have it at a different angle. I would also recommend like having it at like a lower angle so that they feel a bit more powerful in this way. Now is the perfect time for spear practice. Yeah, and we can have this bubble like this. All right. Feels a little bit more filled out, feels a little bit like heftier in that sort of way of looking, right? Have this come down, cross over, cross back over here, right? But okay. I think that's about as much as I was feeling like saying about this one. Everybody, please say thank you so much for Leopard. Thank you. Everybody say thank you so much to Leopard. Oh my god, English. Everybody say thank you so much to Leopard for submitting her work. Again, amazing stuff. Really, really well done. Love these characters. I think this is really cute. Really good job. Great choice of color. Really great way to do really quick backgrounds. Good panel composition, good text, good things all around. Hopefully that was a little helpful. Hopefully that was a little helpful at the very least. But all right, we move on to our final comic of the day, which is a hefty one. This one is really, really long. This one is by DrawsomeJulia. She submitted her work. Apparently this won an award, which is fun. Very nice. I'm glad it was helpful. But a really, really long one. I'm gonna try not to pack in too much because we got a little bit less than half an hour left. I might go overtime, depending on what happens. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I'm like, this is 100%, like, I'm like, first of all, I'm like, their names are Hawkfrost and Ivypaw. This is 100% Warrior Cats. But, like, even if it wasn't Warrior Cats, this is something totally different. I'm like, the way you draw cats, I know who you are. I know what you are. What do you shade white with? What's the color of your light source? I can almost remember who those characters are. I have no clue. I never read Warrior Cats. Okay. You know what you are. So it's actual. Are they really? This is just a fan comic? I have no clue. Hang on. Warrior Cats. No, but there's some. It's Ivy Pool. It's Ivy Pool and Hawkfrost. So Ivypaw is someone different. Because Hawkfrost is a character. There's somebody named Ivy Pool, but I don't see anybody named Ivypaw. Their designs are very different. Maybe it is just like a fan character that just so happened to have the same name. Oh, Ivy Paw was Ivy Pool as an apprentice. I see. So the suffix paw, we get a different one when they're adults. Oh, I see. The names change as they get older. Okay, so these are like... This is like a flashback kind of thing. Okay, I understand. Hawkfrost is a villain whose dad is Tiger Surfer context. AU where Hawkfrost goes on to save the clans and defeat his dad. I see. You should read Warriors. I think I'm okay. I'm okay for now, but maybe one day I'll watch like a deep dive thing. But yes, this comic is so much. This is really, really busy. These panels are crazy. There's so much going on with these panels. I'm a huge fan of big, busy compositions. Sorry, I'm like reading through it again. Okay. My main thing that I noticed with this one, Burning is beautiful. Yeah, no, it's very, very well done. The illustration work is really, really nice. I will say, my main thing that I think about this comic, it is a lot. I think at points it's a little bit too much. This kind of mist coming off of each character, I know it is to show, like, contrast for these characters by comparison to the background. A really easy way, like, let's take this panel for a second. A really easy way to not have this... Oh, you were using, like, a pencil tool. A really easy way for you to, like, make this background not as intense is to just not have any line art. Makes it a lot easier to see, like, if you just make these, like, completely flat. Makes it a little bit easier to visualize each person, each cat, right? Makes it a little bit easier to see the characters in the forefront, right? Because this is with just illustration in general. Your backgrounds, you don't want them to overtake your characters, right? You don't want them to be at the same detail. And I think, like, this grass as well, it's like there's a lot of line work going on here, and it gets a little bit muddy, so you could probably... like really easily just remove a lot of this detail. It'll also save you a lot of work in the long run, right? Here's the thing with comics, right? Is you need to work in a way that is sustainable, right? Automatically, right? Like if I get rid of this, right? It feels a lot less busy just immediately. It's like you could take a couple of the strands of grass if you wanted to, but like you don't need to do all of that. Right? Like compare the two. The thing with comics is you need to work in a way that is sustainable for, like, the long run, right? If you look at a lot of comics, the ones that are published are done in teams of a ton of people. It is never just one person. Like, Marvel Comics, DC, other ones, Amulet, Bone, they're, like, some classic ones, right? Those are done in teams of people. You'll probably have a colorist, you probably have an like a line artist, right? Like a sketch artist, right? You have different people down the pipeline. So if you have these really big backgrounds in that comic, it's because other people are helping you work on it, right? Working with these really big, super, like, detailed backgrounds for every single panel is going to get very, very exhausting. And it's, like, it's what burnt me out of writing Grayson. It was, like, I did, like, backgrounds for so many panels. And it's, like, I foregoed backgrounds for some panels, and it was still too much. Right? It's one of those things where you kind of need to pick, like, what you want to sacrifice. Because in the long run, like, working... Say you had, like, a 300-page comic, right? 200, maybe. 200 or, like... Actually, this average page number, like, maybe, like, 100 to 200-page comic. If you drew at this capacity all by yourself for all 200 pages, you would be dead within a year. Right? Right? It's one of those things where you need to work... smart. With comics, you need to work really smart. And it's like, this is great for like a single sort of page thing. I did a thing once. It was like, I don't really love this one anymore. Just because it's like the way that I drew the characters is just kind of like, oh, I don't draw them like that anymore kind of thing. Where did I put this? There it is. Right, like, to this extent as well, like, this isn't even that crazy, right? It's, like, you can tell how old this is, dude, just, like, how I drew corn, gosh. But, like, I didn't even draw panels for every single background, but even this is, like, an unsustainable way of working if you're gonna work with a comic, right? You want to, like, really, like, simplify it down a bit more, and it'll probably be, like, a lot easier to handle, right? Okay. Another thing that's kind of going on here is the bubble placement. Now, sorry, the silence is me trying to figure out what to say next. I'm also reading it, kind of seeing how my eyes go, right? The paw close-up is fantastic. No, this looks fantastic. I love these lines. Like, I'm just like, I'm like, oh, you need to remove some of these lines in the background because it's a bit busy, but I'm like, these lines are so cool. Frost you. It's got an Ivy Paw. Dove Paw Sister. I would probably have this bubble moved over here, right? I'm Ivy Paw, your Dove Paw Sister. So then again, because what we're doing right now is we're kind of choking out all of these. Notice how all of the bubbles are in one spot right here, right? And it's like, I understand that like we're supposed to read like this because of the panels, but our bubbles are what we're going to see first, right? So we want to help this move across the composition. So it's like, I'm Ivy Paw, your Dove Paw Sister, right? This way, we're having it underneath this character as well, so we look at this character and we have a nice composition across here. Like, we're going across the composition. We can have the, how do you know about my sister? It's like, I've heard a lot of great things about her, right? I love this bubble covering up the eyes. Gives emphasis, gives us an insert shot instead of a close-up, right? Because we don't, or it is a close-up. It's an extreme close-up on the mouth. But this helps us give more context to this expression. But then we go, clever, powerful, a hero already. And then there's nothing here, so our eyes aren't really led to these bubbles. So then we kind of just immediately want to go back down here, right? What we can do is, how do you know my sister? Heard a lot of great things about her. We can split this bubble into two. So we can have it clever. We can have this bubble like crossing over several panels. So it feels like it's like a threat almost, because this character, Ivy Paw, is like, oh gosh. It's like, yeah, she's clever, she's powerful, and a hero already going to face you. Like, okay, fine, you're right. Right? It feels like they're being intimidated by comparison to, it's like, clever, powerful, hero already, and then just two actions with nothing else going on, right? Pacing's a bit strange that way. So with this one as well, again, going across the composition helps us move our eyes across the way, right? Thank you, Meredith. Longest comic ever, does 45 pages, took months to do. How many pages was Grayson? First chapter of Grayson was the first pass chapter of Grayson. Was 198 pages. And then an additional 31 for the, because it was originally an Inktober challenge for myself. So it was 198 digital done, and then 31 traditionally inked, which was the initial pass of Grayson. And that was done in, I think, a year or two, something like that. I would do 3 pages every week. It's the longest comic I've ever finished work. Oh, artist in chat! What? Whoa, let's go! Artist in chat here. My friend who does graphic design for a living also had issues. Starting early with stretching and such will be great for the future of your hand health and joint. Yes! Oh my gosh, are we talking about stretching? Oh my goodness. Artist in chat, you love to see it. But yeah, no. Take care of yourselves. But yeah, longest I ever did was 198 pages. The longest I did in the shortest amount of time was 30 pages in 14 days. Technically 7. If we want to get really nitty-gritty, technically 7, because it took me like 3 days. Like, I started it on that first day of the 14 days, and I didn't work on it for like 6 days, and then I was like, oh shoot, I have a week. So then I sketched within like the next maybe like 5 days, and I did 3 days of lining. It's probably my messiest comic ever. It's not like the strongest, but you know, I should stretch, but then all of a sudden for the hours. Set alarms. Set alarms. So compact the comic because I had a strict sideline of the contest assignment. No, that's completely fine. I also really like working in these compact. I prefer compact stuff. I think the fact that you're an animator is actually working against you. You're trying to put in too much into one thing, right? It's the simplification that you're not super used to, I don't think. So it's that, like, learning to work with less is like that sort of thing with comics. So yeah, how do you work with for clever, powerful, and a hero already? The don't you want to be a hero too, I'd probably actually put here, so that we have it behind this character. And then what we do, right? This is complicated. Okay, because I love this panel layout, but the readability is a bit strange. Okay, we have this here, right? Don't you want to be a hero too? We move this down over here. If we move these two closer together, so if we have this panel, just shift them over just slightly, bigger panel of the eyes, bridging these two together, lift this paw up more, and have the I could teach you down here instead. So if we have this up here, move the paw slightly up higher, and then the I could teach you. That way this feels like a second set of panels instead of these two panels kind of floating on by themselves and then this one actually being the next round, because I didn't totally notice these when I was first reading this. I didn't totally see these because it was kind of like an oh this and then here, oh wait, there's panels here, right? This way, if we connect this to over here, there's a bigger breaching gap, and we can also have this paw cutting over this panel. And then it's almost like the eyes are looking at the paw. Pretty cool. So we can have that work as well that way. I would also move this here. If we have this here... Oh, actually, if we have this one here... Yes. Cross behind. Please. Puts emphasis on the word please, like it's like a bow down kind of thing. I like these panels. These are cool. It's like if we have this, then it puts emphasis on that please, right? And also helps us carry the composition this way. It's like it goes up to here, back down here. It's like a nice swoop across. You feel that? It's like we have the eyes and we swoop across to here, then come back down to this panel. This is cool. This works fine. If this is a kind of later sort of situation, this is actually where I would have cut off these pages and would have had like a next sort of thing start off. Or I would have another panel. If this is like a later thing, really easily, you could just put like a later kind of thing. Or what we can have is we can have a smaller panel here of him kind of walking. Let's say that this is a terrible looking cat, I'm sorry. I didn't read Warrior Cats. So let's say we have him kind of walking through the forest, maybe. And then we have him coming upon his dad. So we have, like, what is it? Hawkfrost, right? Yes, we have Hawkfrost kind of coming upon here, and then we have the father who shows up here. So we have a panel of him walking through the forest, so it's like he's going to speed his dad up. Evil. And then we have the evil cat here. You can tell he's evil because he's a ragdoll. And these panels work fine here. He leaves her dream and comes to the dark forest. This is right after. Oh, he's in a dream! Okay. Well then, let's swap these panels then. So, if he's in a dream and he's waking up from a dream, then you need a panel of him kind of waking up. Or, what we could do again, kind of later it, you know. That's like the cheap way out, is just kind of later it, you know. Press it to align with the first panel. Oh, it's like a parallel sort of thing. I think what would have worked better then is if this was at the top of a page, because it's like I understand the parallel that you wanted to create. It is kind of like it kind of loses it when it's in the center here because of there's like a time jump here. Like, think of this comic as if somebody who doesn't know what's going on is reading it, which is going on right now. I don't know what's going on, so this jump feels very unnatural to me, right? So what we want is to give that context of what's going on. So, like, this probably needs a couple extra panels of what's, like, I understand there's like a limit to what you're being put in here. But it's like you probably want this to go up on the top here instead. Okay, son, you did decent. Let's go to Socket to decent. Make sure she doesn't feel like she has a choice. Put this bubble over here, I think. You might want to cut the panel off here, too. And cut it off with the panel here, too. It's like, make her feel... I'll just, like, do like this. So then this, again, lead it over to this panel as well. Lead this over. This bubble should go here. So it's, like, not as good as I could do, but decent. Lead it over to here. And then you put this panel right up here. Smart thinking. Comparing her to her better sister. This panel could go here. So it's like if we have this here, right? Because now we have an empty space here. Smart thinking, comparing her to her better sister. Make sure this cuts off that bubble. So you could ensure her, legally tell her clan if she betrayed us. Right? So then now we have this sort of arcing thing. Move this one over here a little bit too. Now we have, again, an arcing composition as we go across and see all of them. Because this is like this is a very, very wide Z that you have here already. So, like, this way it just makes it feel a little bit smoother. So if we have that, now we have a Z for all of these panels. Thank you for the $7 dono, Joe. It's really cheesy due to running out of space and running my size limit. Yeah, I get you. Okay. I'm not super sure what's going on here. I'm certain it makes sense to the Warrior Cats community, but it's like these last few panels, it's like, I know you'll get the hang of it. I'm like, it's like, you could probably make this panel like bigger here, I think. So then it feels more like a crossover sort of thing. But right now, I'm not too sure what the actions here are. I'm not super rated that far. I'm not super, like, sure what the action is that's going on right now. It's like, I know you'll get the hang of it. It's like, me personally, it's like, because this character, like, Hawkfrost seems like he kind of regrets what he's doing, or he's getting, like, kind of, like, flashbacks or whatever, right? So I'm like, my thing that I would probably do, it's like, again, I'm assuming that this is, like, based on, like, what the actual book is, but, like, it's like, I would have him kind of like, it's like, you know, dad leaves. Hawkfrost kind of has to sit there with his own, like, decision. And then we have one big empty panel of him just kind of, like, sitting alone. I'm like, I don't know what the impact of that is, but it's like, this way it kind of ends on, like, a hollow note. By comparison to, like, because this is very, very busy down here, so it's like it might work better if we ended on, like, just this big sort of, like, hollow feeling. And then that way, actually, if we ended on that big hollow feeling, we could just move this up to here, because then we would have less to work with down here, right? So it would be like, if we had this, let me actually get this exact ratio of the panels here. Okay, so let me use another layer. Ooh, that's big. Okay, hang on. Did you have to work in a 6.5 or a 6.25 by 9 ratio? It's either 6.25 or 6.75. Hang on. I got it. I got it. 6.5 by 9. 6.5 is standard comic size. Or this is 9.5 by 11. It's like, just visually. I don't remember, but a specific number of inches I had to work with. Okay, so it's probably 6.5 by 9, because that is very... Let me actually open up a 6.5 by 9 comic panel. Oh, you know what? I already did. This is 6.5 by 9. So... Oh yeah, that ratio is really similar. It's actually a bit shorter. So this is probably 9.5 by 11, actually. Oh no, actually? Yeah, okay. So it's just it might actually be 8.5 by 11. But no, it's very close to 6.5, which means that it's probably 6.25. Yeah. Cool. That's the standard comic page size. Like screen resolution flip sideways? No. It's a very specific print thing. Like the exact specific print thing is like 6.25 by 9. It's like by 9 inches. This is like comic print size. Like very, very classic comic print size is that. So again, if I was to take this composition, if I was to take the big long one up here, if you wanted to have that parallel. I have the hey son. You did decent. You could even shrink down have a panel cutoff thing go on here. Not as good as I could, but decent. And then have that whole big revelation thing in the center. And then we have our other 2 panels down here. Because he just kind of tells him, hey, it's like, you know. Gabagoo. I'm sorry. He says is, I know you'll get it, but you'll get the hang. It's like, you'll get the hang of it kind of thing going on here. And then Dad leaves. And then he has to sit with himself. And that's the final panel. Right? And then this way we kind of have that, we've condensed it, right? We've condensed it because we don't need all these panels anymore. We've condensed it. And we still have that similar impact. Right? So then this way it's like we still have, and the parallel to page 1 works even better here as well because it's back up to the top like before. Love the way you're drawing the cats. Bro, I'm so used to drawing tabaxi. I'm like, my cats are very different because I'm like, again, I didn't grow up with warrior cats, so like the tabaxi in D&D, I base them off of like real cats. So yes, actually, I can draw cats, just not this way. I'm a bit more realistic with the way that I approach cats. Scribbles, no, Scribs is not realistic. Scribs is like, Scribbles is the tabaxi in my D&D campaigns. Scribbles looks like this. Childhood illustration anatomy rules here into He does look like an Animal Crossing character. Okay, but essentially all of this is just like, it's like you're a little bit busy. I think you could probably simplify a lot of this because you got a lot of glowing stuff going on. You got a lot of textures, so much. It's like I zoom out and I don't really, like this page is great because I have like that one thing that I'm focusing on, but like all the others, there isn't really like focal points. Everything kind of feels like muddied into its one sort of section. And then just sort of pacing your bubbles, I think, are just the main two things that are going on, and just condensing down. There's a thing that they say with comics is trimming the fat. Is you gotta know how, like, to trim the fat of the comic that you're drawing. Right? So, like, if you're trimming the fat, cutting down the text, cutting down the bubbles, cutting down all the illustrations, right? Because at heart we're illustrators, but you can't have an illustrator mind when working on a comic. You gotta work as a comic artist with a comic. I can draw for so long, you're doing way more than me, that I'm already dead. I have been teaching since 9 a.m. I've been drawing since 9 a.m. This is kind of just a built skill. Don't do it. Take breaks. Take lots of breaks. And it's also just that kind of thing. Like, the quicker movements that you do, the lighter you hold your pencil, the less bad it is on your body. So that kind of just build up of knowing what to do. But alright, everybody, say thank you so much to DrawsomeJulia for submitting. Artist is in chat, so be sure to say thank you so much. Say good job. She did a great job. This looks beautiful. And thank you so much for the courage in allowing me to give you some crit. But alright, everybody. It's a great advice. I am glad that you like the advice. I do my best. But alright, everybody. That is 5 o'clock. Thank you all so much for joining today. Again, this stream was sponsored by XP Pen. We have an awesome selection of digital art tablets for both beginner and advanced artists. If you're looking for affordable and reliable digital art tablets, go and browse the store. Link in the description. Again, thank you so much, XP Pen, for sponsoring us multiple times and taking the time to help out this little art channel, little art studio. So again, check out the link in the description for XP Pen tablets. And to everybody else in stream, thank you all so much for joining today. No real demo for you guys to have at the end. I will actually upload these lessons for you, though, that I've done in the past. So one of them is about pacing and bubble placement, and the 180 rule, which I actually didn't get to talk about, and shot types. So that'll be up there for you, and then there will also be different bubble types and bubble placement. So I'll upload both of these onto the Discord for you guys. Discord, by the way, !Discord, join the Discord, get the demos from stream when we have them, talk with other art nerds. If you're a member, Patreon or YouTube, hey, there's membership channels. So member channels, I tend to talk in more. All the streamers tend to talk in there more. Share your work, get some crit, you know, that fun jazz. Submit your work for future weeks when we do artist features in the beginning of streams. But hey, aside from both of those, not just a YouTube channel, we're an art school too. wingcanvas.com, check out the classes that we offer. Camps are coming up. March break camps are like next week. I don't think you can sign up for them anymore. Maybe you can, I don't know. But classes are coming back next week. Winter term just finished this week, but spring term is going to be starting up next week, Saturday. That is, I teach digital art and a comics and manga mentorship. So if you wanted to pop into that, I would gladly teach you. Got a bunch of other classes as well that we can offer. And then summer camp, I believe, is also up for registration right now. So I believe I'm teaching a comics and manga class then as well, and a couple figure drawing classes. But okay, next week, or this Sunday, the Sunday you are with Iggy. Iggy is going to be teaching you how to make your art more dynamic. That is this Sunday. And then next week, Saturday, you're going to be learning how to paint animals in acrylic and collage with Faye. Faye's going to be doing another traditional art stream with you guys next week, Saturday. But tomorrow is going to be Iggy with dynamic poses, so be sure to catch that one. But alright, thank you all so much for joining today. Again, artists who were featured in stream, please contact me at the end of stream if you would like your work. If you would like me to send you the working files of your comics, if you want anything that I edited, feel free to shoot me a message directly. Just tell me who you are. I will gladly give you that comic. But alright, thank you all so much for joining me this week, and I will see you all in a couple weeks. Au revoir, bye-bye.